of glamour and celebrity, certain names flicker for a moment before fading into obscurity, while others burn brighter, leaving behind a legacy of allure, mystery, and transformation. Among these is the British model and actress Carla Howe. To some, she is remembered as a striking figure in glossy magazines, to others as a daring presence in music videos and reality television. But behind the photographs, the headlines, and the whispers of controversy lies a woman whose rise to fame is far more complex and far more captivating than the public has ever been allowed to see. Carla Howe was not born into the limelight. She emerged from the quiet suburbs of Berkshire, England, where dreams of international fame seemed worlds away. Yet from an early age she carried a spark, a boldness, a determination, and an almost magnetic confidence that hinted she was destined for something greater. That spark would eventually pull her into the whirlwind of glamour modeling, a world glittering with opportunity but also clouded with scrutiny. As her career began to take shape, Carla quickly learned that success in modeling was not just about beauty, but about standing out in an industry saturated with faces and bodies that all seemed to blend together. With her fiery red hair, striking curves, and unapologetic confidence, she distinguished herself from the crowd. Soon, she was not only turning heads but also capturing the pages of the very magazines that once inspired her. Appearances in Loaded, Zoo, and Nuts propelled her into the realm of British glamour fame, cementing her status as one of the most talked-about models of her generation. But Carla's story is not just one of glossy covers and flashing cameras. Fame, especially for women in the modeling world, comes at a cost. With every photo shoot and public appearance, the stakes grew higher. Rumors began to swirl. Headlines painted her as a symbol of desire, but also as a magnet for controversy. Her connection to Playboy and appearances alongside celebrities only heightened the intrigue. Was she simply another face in the relentless machine of fame, or was there a deeper story behind her meteoric rise? What makes Carla's journey so gripping is not just the success she achieved, but the choices she made, and the risks she was willing to take. She walked into rooms where doors had been closed for others. She embraced opportunities that carried as much danger as they did promise. She lived boldly, and in doing so, she forced the world to look at her whether it wanted to or not. And yet, as her star rose, so too did the shadows that followed her. The pressure of public scrutiny, the unforgiving weight of labels, the endless speculation about her personal life. These would become both a burden and a catalyst, shaping her into not just a model, but a woman who learned to navigate the fine line between empowerment and exploitation. Carla Howe's story begins in the glamour of magazines and the flash of cameras, but it does not end there. Because behind the fame lies a deeper narrative, a tale of resilience, reinvention, and ambition that few have truly understood. And as we peel back the layers of her journey, one question lingers. Was Carla simply a product of the world's gaze, or was she always in control of the spotlight she commanded? The answer to that lies in the struggles she faced, the challenges she overcame, and the empire she dared to build from the very things meant to define her. But before we uncover the secrets of her triumphs, we must first confront the trials that nearly silenced her. For every glamorous photograph and dazzling appearance that defined Carla Howe's rise, there existed an untold story of struggle, one that revealed the darker side of fame. Beneath the shimmering lights of photo shoots and red carpet premieres, Carla faced a world that was far less forgiving than the glossy covers suggested. In the British modeling scene, she had achieved what many only dream of, being published in Zoo, Nuts, and Loaded, securing international recognition, and eventually stepping into the coveted world of Playboy. These achievements, though monumental, came at a cost. With each success, the pressure intensified, and the scrutiny of both the public and the press grew merciless. Carla quickly discovered that in the modeling industry, beauty was celebrated, but ambition was often criticized, and individuality could make you either unforgettable or a target. The challenges were not just professional but deeply personal. Fame thrust Carla into the limelight where her every move was documented, dissected, and often distorted. She was painted alternately as a femme fatale, a celebrity temptress, and even a tabloid obsession. Every friendship, every romantic link, every decision became fodder for headlines. For many, the constant swirl of gossip would have been paralyzing. For Carla, it became both a trial and a test of character. One of the most defining challenges she faced was the stigma of the glamour industry itself. To some, glamour modeling was dismissed as shallow or exploitative. Critics sought to reduce her identity to the images on magazine covers, ignoring the woman behind the persona. Carla, however, understood something deeper, that modeling was more than just an aesthetic performance. It was branding, it was business, and it was a game of survival in an industry that devoured the unprepared. Online backlash was another demon that reared its head. As her popularity soared, so did the wave of criticism from anonymous voices hidden behind screens. Social media, while a tool for growth, became a double-edged sword. With hundreds of thousands of followers came thousands of unsolicited opinions, some supportive, many harsh, and others outright cruel. To withstand this digital storm required more than beauty. It required resilience, and Carla learned to build the armor necessary to protect both her career and her sense of self. But perhaps the greatest challenge came not from the outside world but from within. The weight of constantly living up to an image, the flawless body, the perfect look, the unbreakable confidence, can suffocate even the strongest. Carla confronted the pressure to remain relevant, to outshine new faces flooding the industry, and to prove that she was more than a fleeting figure in a ruthless business. At times, doubt threatened to overshadow her ambition. At times, the road seemed designed to break her spirit. Yet this is where Carla's story takes a remarkable turn. Instead of allowing rejection, backlash, or criticism to bury her, she transformed them into fuel. Every whispered rumor became an opportunity to command more attention. Every rejection turned into redirection. And every moment of doubt became a step toward resilience. This period of turbulence forced Carla to ask herself a critical question. Was she willing to let the industry define her, or would she take control of her own narrative? Her answer would prove transformative. For out of struggle came a newfound determination, not just to survive the world of glamour, but to redefine what it meant to be a model in the digital age. Carla Howe's challenges were many: rejections, gossip, stigma, and the relentless pace of the spotlight. But rather than diminish her, they forged her into something stronger. A woman with a sharpened vision, unafraid to carve out her place in a world that often sought to limit her. And it was in this crucible of adversity that the foundations of her empire were quietly being laid. Because while the world debated her image, Carla was preparing something far greater than anyone expected. Adversity has a way of shaping visionaries. For Carla Howe, the challenges she endured did not simply harden her spirit. They sharpened her ability to see beyond the superficial layers of fame. She began to recognize that glamour modeling, as dazzling as it was, had limits. Photographs fade, tabloids move on, and even the most celebrated faces are eventually replaced. If she was going to survive in this ever-changing world, she needed more than attention. She needed longevity. And longevity meant building an empire. The first step was ownership. Carla understood that in the digital age, a model could no longer rely solely on magazines or agencies to dictate her success. The power was shifting toward those who could control their own image, cultivate their own audience, and turn personal branding into a business. With this in mind, she began investing in her presence on social media, long before many in the industry truly grasped its potential. Her Instagram became more than just a portfolio. It became a stage, a storefront, and a global spotlight. She treated it not as a gallery of photos, but as a carefully curated brand. Every post carried intention, from the style of her outfits to the tone of her captions. She was no longer simply modeling, she was storytelling. And in that storytelling, she found the ability to connect with an audience that stretched far beyond the United Kingdom. It was here that her empire began to take shape. Carla transformed her following into influence, and that influence into opportunity. Collaborations with global brands, appearances in music videos, and connections with celebrities elevated her beyond the traditional role of a glamour model. She was now a cultural figure, a name that carried weight in the entertainment industry. But the true empire-building moment came when Carla realized she could shift from being the face of someone else's vision to being the architect of her own. At the height of her modeling fame, when the world expected her to stay in her lane, she began diversifying her career. She explored acting, landing appearances on British television shows like Snog, Mary, Avoid, and Facejacker. She positioned herself not just as a model, but as a versatile performer capable of holding her own on screen. And then came the revelation that would define her next chapter. At the 7-minute mark of her journey, Carla stepped away from simply being consumed by the industry and took on the role of creator. She began leveraging her platform not only for appearances, but for entrepreneurial pursuits, fashion collaborations, lifestyle branding, and ventures that allowed her to monetize her influence directly. It was a pivotal shift. No longer was she dependent on the opportunities handed to her. She was building a structure of her own. What made this transformation even more powerful was her mindset. Carla was not content with fleeting fame. She envisioned something sustainable, something that could endure long after the cameras stopped flashing. She studied trends, learned the dynamics of online engagement, and mastered the art of reinventing herself without losing authenticity. She embraced vulnerability in a way that humanized her to her fans, but she also maintained the mystery that kept her intriguing. This delicate balance became a cornerstone of her empire. Her empire was not made of stone or steel, it was built from perception, influence, and adaptability. It grew every time she turned a headline into momentum, every time she converted a setback into a reinvention, and every time she reminded the world that beauty was only one dimension of her power. By refusing to remain confined to the label of Playboy model, Carla Howe redefined what success could look like for women in the industry. She proved that the glamour world could be more than a fleeting phase, it could be the launchpad for something enduring, something transformational. But Carla's empire was not just built on her work, it was fueled by the unique persona she projected to the world. A persona that blurred the lines between fashion, allure, and identity, and one that would soon become her greatest signature. If success in the digital era is a game of perception, then Carla Howe mastered it with remarkable precision. What truly set her apart from the countless faces vying for attention was not only her beauty, but her ability to turn that beauty into a signature brand. A living, breathing aesthetic that carried her name beyond the modeling industry and into the cultural conversation. Carla's brand began with a look that was impossible to ignore. Her fiery red hair became a symbol, a crown that distinguished her in an industry where sameness often blurred identities. It was not just hair, it was a statement, one that projected confidence, sensuality, and individuality. Coupled with striking curves and a magnetic presence, she created an image that was not just photogenic, but unforgettable. But personal branding goes beyond appearance. Carla understood the psychology of allure. She didn't merely pose for the camera, she crafted a persona that invited intrigue. Every photograph carried a deliberate balance: seduction without overexposure, confidence without arrogance, accessibility without losing mystery. It was this balance that made her more than a model. It made her a personality audiences wanted to follow, not just admire. Her Instagram presence amplified this carefully curated identity. Carla leaned into fashion choices that blended glamour with boldness, often pairing daring outfits with a style that echoed sophistication rather than excess. She knew that style could tell a story, and she told it with precision. Whether in couture-inspired looks, high-fashion photo shoots, or candid lifestyle captures, her feed painted a portrait of a woman who embodied both aspiration and relatability. Unlike many models who allowed agencies or brands to dictate their image, Carla cultivated her own. She was strategic in what she shared and deliberate in what she withheld. This selective transparency gave her brand an edge. Fans felt connected to her, yet always curious to know more. In the age of oversharing, that sense of mystery became one of her greatest assets. Carla also mastered the art of consistency. Her followers knew what to expect: glamour, allure, sophistication, but never in a repetitive way. Each new appearance felt like a reinvention, yet always within the boundaries of her signature style. This consistency built trust with her audience, and that trust fueled loyalty. Her personal branding extended beyond fashion into her very presence in public spaces. On television appearances, at premieres, or in interviews, Carla embodied the same blend of boldness and elegance that her online persona projected. She carried herself with poise, often leaving an impression not just because of what she wore, but because of how she commanded attention without demanding it. What makes Carla's branding so compelling is how it distinguished her from the crowd of Instagram models chasing the same trends. While others relied on fleeting viral moments, Carla leaned into timeless archetypes of beauty, weaving them into a modern context. She wasn't simply following fashion, she was crafting her own interpretation of it, one that set her apart as a figure of allure rather than just another influencer. This mastery of personal branding and style became one of the pillars of her empire. It wasn't just about being seen, it was about being remembered. And in the saturated digital landscape, remembrance is the foundation of power. Yet, style and persona were only the beginning. Carla Howe's ambitions extended far beyond the screen and the runway. Because behind the flawless branding was a businesswoman, an entrepreneur quietly expanding her influence into ventures that would secure her legacy far beyond modeling. For many, modeling is a career bound by time, a profession where relevance fades as quickly as the next new face emerges. But Carla Howe refused to let her success be confined to photographs or fleeting headlines. She recognized early on that her influence was not just a product of her beauty, but a currency she could reinvest into something far more enduring. And so began her transition from model to entrepreneur. Carla's first entrepreneurial instinct was understanding the value of her platform. With hundreds of thousands of followers hanging on to her every post, she realized she no longer needed to wait for opportunities, she could create them. This shift in perspective allowed her to transform Instagram from a gallery of images into a marketplace of influence, where every partnership, every collaboration, and every brand deal was carefully chosen to strengthen her identity while building financial momentum. Fashion became her natural entry point. Having worked in front of the camera for some of the world's most recognizable glamour and lifestyle brands, she possessed an insider's understanding of what sold and why. Carla began working with designers and fashion houses, not just as a model, but as a collaborator, influencing collections and lending her image to campaigns that aligned with her brand. For her, this was more than an endorsement, it was a strategic step toward positioning herself as a player in the fashion business itself. But fashion was only the beginning. Carla expanded into lifestyle and beauty ventures, recognizing that her influence extended far beyond clothing. Skincare, cosmetics, and health supplements became areas where her personal credibility as a beauty icon could translate into entrepreneurial impact. Every product she endorsed or collaborated on carried a subtle yet powerful effect. Her followers didn't just see a model selling an item, they saw Carla sharing a piece of her lifestyle. This emotional connection created loyalty that many traditional brands struggled to achieve. Her entrepreneurial instincts also extended into media. Carla knew the entertainment industry was evolving, and she wasn't content with being a participant. She wanted to be a stakeholder. She explored opportunities in acting, appearances in film and television, and even ventures into digital entertainment platforms. Each step diversified her career, ensuring she was not dependent on a single industry to sustain her relevance. What made Carla's entrepreneurial journey truly distinct was her mindset. She wasn't chasing every business trend or attaching her name to fleeting ventures. Instead, she operated with precision, aligning her projects with her long-term brand identity. Whether it was fashion, beauty, or entertainment, each move reinforced the persona she had so carefully crafted. She was not just selling products, she was selling the lifestyle of Carla Howe. And like many forward-thinking entrepreneurs, Carla recognized the importance of adaptability. She stayed attuned to the evolving digital economy, exploring new platforms, embracing collaborations with influencers across industries, and leveraging her own story as a form of marketing. In a world where attention is the most valuable commodity, Carla turned hers into a thriving business model. Her entrepreneurial ventures marked a profound evolution. No longer was she simply the face in front of the camera, she was the strategist behind the scenes, the businesswoman turning fame into capital, and influence into independence. But perhaps the most surprising chapter of Carla Howe's journey is not her empire of beauty or fashion, but the moments when she stepped away from the spotlight to give back. Because beyond the glamour and the entrepreneurship, Carla revealed another dimension, one defined not by profit but by purpose. Behind the gloss of magazine spreads and the boldness of entrepreneurial ventures lies a truth that often goes unnoticed. Influence, when used with purpose, can become a force for change. For Carla Howe, fame was never just about personal success. It also became a platform to shine a light on causes that mattered to her, to step beyond self-promotion and embrace the responsibility that comes with visibility. Carla's philanthropic journey began quietly, without the fanfare or headlines that often surround celebrity charity work. While others showcased their donations for applause, Carla chose a more personal path. She directed her energy toward causes that resonated with her own experiences, particularly those linked to women's empowerment, body confidence, and mental health awareness. Having navigated the brutal scrutiny of the modeling industry, she understood firsthand the toll that criticism, rejection, and unrealistic beauty standards could take. Her advocacy wasn't theoretical, it was born of lived experience. One of her most profound contributions has been her willingness to speak openly about self-image and the pressures of the digital age. In a world where social media can distort reality and foster insecurity, Carla has used her voice to remind her followers that confidence is not found in perfection, but in self-acceptance. This subtle yet powerful message reached thousands of young women who looked up to her, not as an untouchable figure, but as someone who had faced the same struggles they did. Her philanthropy also extended to community engagement. Carla has participated in charity events, fundraisers, and awareness campaigns, lending her name and influence to amplify causes ranging from children's health to domestic violence support. By aligning herself with such initiatives, she demonstrated that her brand was not confined to glamour, it carried a deeper purpose. But advocacy for Carla was never about trends or public approval. It was about authenticity. She understood that her audience could easily discern between staged charity and genuine care. By focusing on issues close to her heart, she built not just admiration but trust. And trust, in the world of influence, is the rarest currency of all. What makes this chapter of her journey so compelling is the balance it created within her public image. For years, Carla was framed by the media as a symbol of allure and controversy. Yet her philanthropic work revealed another truth, that beneath the dazzling persona was a woman deeply aware of the world around her, and committed to using her platform for good. Her advocacy also hinted at a more profound legacy. By championing causes of empowerment, she was rewriting the narrative of what it meant to be a glamour model. No longer was she simply a figure of desire, she became a figure of influence, capable of shaping conversations that extended far beyond the runway or the camera lens. Carla Howe's philanthropic dimension may not dominate headlines the way her modeling career once did, but in many ways, it is the most enduring. For long after magazine pages yellow and social media trends fade, the impact of a voice raised for justice, confidence, and compassion continues to resonate. And it is here, in the merging of fame and purpose, that we find the truest measure of Carla Howe's legacy, not simply a woman who conquered the spotlight, but one who sought to use it to illuminate others. But as her journey unfolds from the world of glamour to business and advocacy, one final question remains. What will her story mean for those who come after her? Carla Howe's story is more than just the tale of a model who graced the covers of magazines or the spotlight of the entertainment world. It is the story of resilience, transformation, and the courage to evolve. From her early beginnings, fueled by ambition and a relentless drive to succeed, to her rise as a recognizable name in glamour modeling, she carved out a path that was uniquely her own. Yet, what makes her legacy enduring is not just the glitter of fame, but the strength behind it, the determination to defy expectations, to reinvent herself in business, and to stand for something greater than beauty alone. Carla's journey reminds us that influence without purpose fades quickly, but influence anchored in authenticity can shape generations. For every young woman navigating a world of comparison, for every dreamer staring down doubt, Carla Howe's story whispers a powerful truth. You are more than the labels placed upon you. You are the author of your own narrative. And like Carla, you can rise, redefine, and inspire, no matter where you begin. Her life is not a closed chapter, but an evolving story. One that continues to demonstrate that beauty, when combined with vision and heart, becomes a legacy. And as we look at the arc of her journey, one thing becomes clear. Carla Howe is not just a model of glamour, but a model of courage, transformation, and inspiration. This has been Carla Howe's Untold Rise, an extraordinary story of ambition, reinvention, and purpose. If her journey moved you, inspired you, or made you see her in a new light, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us here on Vibekic TV, where we uncover the lives and legacies of the world's most fascinating icons. Your story awaits in the next video.